we put into it. And I was like, well, I don't know how hard Prince Harry works. I have no idea. I've never met him. But I was like, I know that I can work for years on something without anyone knowing about it before revealing it. And I think about it a lot like the Olympics. So people will train for 4 years to have 10 seconds where the world sees them. And what's interesting is that people see those 10 seconds and assume, okay, 10 seconds when they ran, maybe it's, 100 times that for how much they worked. It's just not really fathomable for somebody who doesn't even know how to work long and hard to think about how much effort that really takes. And so when I was in the thick of it, I just kept thinking to myself like, man, this is so much work. And then I thought to myself like, yeah, no one has ever done this before. So no one has ever done this before. Of course it will take that much work. Did I expect to do something that no one had ever done before with a level of effort that had been repeated many, many times? Of course not. The amount of times I had to double check every single email flow from every single potential combination is 400 pages of copy. There was more copy written just in the emails than words in the book. And then every single VSL, so video sales letter, I had 6 of them. Every single one of them, painstakingly crafted, where I have to say, I gotta get it shorter, but I have to stuff more in here, I gotta get it shorter. How can I put more visuals? How can I put more narrative in it? How can I minimize the downside? How can I express more of the upside potential of this particular thing? And then as I was creating the slides, right, for the webinar, I wrote out every single word first, and then went through multiple passes of editing. And then after editing the actual words, every single word that was said was prepared. And then those words had to get on the slides. How many? 1,700 slides. How much AI was used in the making of those slides? 0. Me, because as of right now, there's nothing that makes slides like me. As of yet. Maybe there will be. Currently, it doesn't. Not the style I like. And so I'm there pasting these things. I was like, holy shit. This. And then I was like, okay, well, I also have to have a visual on every single slide. I did use AI for the visuals. But I had to go through that. And you're like 300 slides in and you're like, oh my God, this was 2 days. And you're like, I have another 1,400 slides to make. And that's just for the webinar. That's just for the first part of day 1. And then I've got the prep that I have to do for every one of the interviews. And then I got to talk to every one of those guys and tell them what I'm going to say, and then make sure that I can steer the conversation in a way that's interesting to the audience, and then also still promotes the book and the other stuff. And so with each of these things, and even when I had the playbooks, right? When I explained those, I practiced being able to walk, say the slide, and position the props at the same time. You think, oh, well, that just looked normal. It's like, I had to do it 50 times, 100 times, so that I knew that when the screen would come on, I would reverse order. So I'd put the letter in my pocket. I'd take my hat from underneath my arm. I'd pull it back up. And then I would say, business owners, moneymakers, ballers, I can't remember what it was. I made this for you. And then I would transition to the second part. Right? And so at every single one of these points, I had to practice all of it over and over again. And I was just like, I just kept thinking, I was like, no one will do this. I was like, no one will do this. And the reality is that you will not get credit for the work you do. We have this desire, at least I do, maybe on some level, that I want someone to stand next to me when I'm working and just be like, great job today, Alex. You worked super hard. No, you don't get that. Like, you have to be that person. And so it comes down to, and I say this a lot, but it's because it's what gets me through this, is I always ask myself, I'm like, what kind of man do I want to be? And so when I'm in that, I'm like, am I the man who will cut the corner? And I'm like, no, I'm going to fucking do it right. And it's like, right, get back to it. That's it. There's no parade. There's no applause. There's no confetti. It's like the work needs doing. And it's either me or somebody else. And this was a project of love. I was like, this is something that I had worked. I mean, all 3 of my books were actually written at once. So you want to talk about a long-term plan? I began writing these 4+ years ago, and it was one Mondo book. And then I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could culminate the $100 million series with a $100 million launch? But each of the 3 books had to represent what the concept of the book was about. And so I have had this waiting for 4 years before I could share it. And so I think telling yourself in your mind the story that you're going to be able to someday tell when you're going through the rocky cutscene allows you to take the licks that you're going to take during that period where no one is watching. Because the winning always happens when you're alone. People only get to see it when you demonstrate it. But the demonstration, the 10-second race, the one fight, the me getting on stage and doing the presentation, that is a microcosm of what it actually takes. And